Um, oh, my notes are on what phone? It's on this phone. I'm sorry, I have three different phones, and I had notes pulled up on one. So I can't see who all here, so I'm assuming it's us three.
It's
Huh?
Miss Me, Jasmine, and hey Nandi. Nandi just came in.
Hey,
Hi,
Nandi.
hi. Hello, everyone.
You no, that's Sarah. Wait a minute, hold on. Sandra is the one with glasses. Hey, Nandi.
Hi.
I know who you are now. It
That's good. That's good.
I mean, it's only been a year, so
has not been a year.
Right?
It's been like 2, 3 months. When did we start this book club?
It's been almost a year, Jessica.
No, it ain't been almost no year now. We just started like 4 books
August
ago.
August will be a year.
That's so many months away. Okay, so chapter 4.
Yeah.
Nani, the executive producer, got it. Yeah, got you. I know who Nani is. So what did we do? We did chapters 4 and 5 for me. So now that there's less people, yay. All right, first. So chapter 4 opened up with another success story. And and he does do another one at the beginning of chapter 5, I believe. He kind of does them throughout. And I was gonna ask y'all, like, so how do the success stories make you feel? Like, do you think that they're necessary or that they're well placed? Like, do they kind of inspire you? Not really.
I mean, I don't know about the whole inspiration point, but like psychologically, I think it does what it's supposed to do, which is give you hope that this is attainable.
Makes sense. Oh, I'm sorry, I was supposed to talk with the so the chapter 4 is about I'm sorry, the best diet for health prevention and disease. So yeah. Basically this whole chapter he talked about the Mediterranean diet and how it's the best one out there. And so my next question was, do y'all think it's actually the best diet to help with what he was discussing, or have you found something better?
Wait, I wanted to go back to because I was about to
Oh,
reply.
I'm sorry. Go back.
Success stories make me jealous and upset because I feel like they're taunting me, like I'm not able.
I
I
feel
won't
you.
have the same results because I can't commit to hardly anything. That's what I feel like.
Is somebody talking far away?
Yeah, there's somebody in the background.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, right. No, I completely agree. Anybody, wait a minute. Wait, Jasmine. Nandi, did you have anything to add to that?
About the success stories.
Yeah, or the other one.
I mean, I think they're, like you said, I mean, I think they are, well, it is good to have them because then you have like a tangible example of what he's talking about in action. It's not just his words saying, do this, do this, do this, and you'll have this result. So when you hear about someone doing it, or even just like removing a couple items from their diet and having certain, issues go away, then you're kind of like, oh, you know, um, that could possibly work. But I think, um, overall, like when when he was listing out the Mediterranean diet, and he's just saying, and so just go for it, and just change the way you eat, and eat a big, the 3 meals and snack and every 4 hours. And um I think, I mean, not that you want to be negative, but I just think that it is really, um there's a lot to it in terms of getting to that level where you're always eating regularly, you're not stress eating or emotionally eating, and you're always shopping and having the fresh things and the meals planned out. I think it's just a really high level of functioning and efficiency to be able to do that, you know. So kudos to those people. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really something to us. I think you aspire to it because it's just so easy to, have an off day. I've only this year recently started thinking about like why I eat or crave what I crave when I eat it. Because before, growing up, I just ate, pretty much like it was what my parents ate. You know, when I was with my mom or with my dad, I'd kind of eat that diet. And then when I got on my own, I kind of did my own version of that without any real thought about really anything. You know, I mean, I think, I mean, I was kind of lucky in that I didn't really like sweets a lot. And I kind of naturally got over fast food because it would literally make me, like, my system wouldn't accept it. But if it hadn't been that, I probably would have been, you know, eating it even longer because it was just kind of like what people did. So I think it's just as you know, as you go on that journey, it's like the levels of it just get higher and higher in terms of trying to have your diet be really healthy. That's what I think.
I think that it just kind of goes into, like I said, once again, it gives you that example there to show what is feasible. But kind of like what Nandi said, like everybody doesn't have that level of dedication. Um, Luckily, I'm with someone who is like into health and getting healthier. And so I have somebody here with me. Like we meal prep every Sunday. Like Sundays, we spend, like whenever we get off this call today, we'll go grocery shopping and we get everything fresh or frozen and we cook for the week. And if it was just me, I don't know that I would continue doing it without having like that accountability there and not having somebody else to do it with me. So I think that makes a difference too. Because he mentions like kind of having the family and kind of that support and stuff like that. If I was by myself, I wouldn't do it. I've been saying I was gonna do it for years and I ain't done it until I got with him.
I know that's really important too, though, having that support system because his success stories do make it seem like it's a self motivated thing, which was a much later question I was gonna ask, but I can ask, you know, like what did I ask? Well, I was saying, you know, does it make you feel like you're, or would it make people feel like they're inadequate because these people seem to have this instant inspiration because later he's talking about I want to say Jason or Bob. Well, I think it was Jason or something, where yeah, he realized he wanted to live for his kids and then he got uncomfortable, but then when he realized how much money it would save him, he just pioneered on. But the thing is, how does it seem so easy for all these people he's talking about? And like Yandy, Nandi, Yashonda said, um, is it's like it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. Like there's something wrong with you that you can't do what they're doing. And he's trying to, he really kind of makes it seem, to me, he makes it seem like it's so simple, which of course he does it later, but I think there's more to it than that as well, than what he's just, you know, offering. Because like you said, sometimes you need support. And I guess he might be support for them, but if he's not really doing it with them, I guess they need somebody to hold them accountable. So if he is that great, but I know when I get home, I'm probably not gonna do it. Like
But
I
he's
want.
also, you got to pay attention, like the example stories are people who are in desperate situations. And I think that that serves as a motivator too. Like whenever we're just casually thinking about it and saying, oh, I need to lose some weight, oh, it would help me to be healthier, you're not as motivated as if you go to the doctor and the doctor is like, you know, your levels are high. And if you don't lose weight, you're going to have a heart attack in the next 6 months. Or, you know, if you don't lose weight, then you know, you're going to deal with this issue, or you're going to have a limb amputated, or you're going to go blind. Or I think that
Yeah.
whenever you are kind of your back's against the wall and you have to make a change, or either something life altering and devastating that's irreversible is going to happen in your life, that serves as a motivator.
Right. Exactly. And so later, so he on page 53, he talks about implementing the diet, and this question came up a lot for me just reading throughout the chapter too. And even the next page. So the steps he said, you know, he's like basically telling you what to do: eliminate this, do that, substitute this for that, buy whole grain, fresh fruit, all that stuff. But and I was saying, do you think these steps are doable for everyone, regardless of income and location? And then it tied into on the next page, on page 54, where he was talking about the study excuse me, conducted by the professor of medicine at the University of Barcelona, and how the heart disease, I'm sorry, the reduced chances of strokes, heart attacks, and deaths due to heart disease by an astounding reduced by an astounding 30%. One, I didn't think it was a high number, but so I looked up the study, and it has some interesting things in it. Um, but so because that study was done in Barcelona, and where's my study? I'm gonna pull up what it said about the study I found. I'm sorry, I thought it was gonna be right here. Where is it? Nope. There we go. So the study, it was done in Spain, and the participants, it was assigned to 7,447 participants. They were aged from 55 to 80 years old. 57% were women. They were at high cardiovascular risk, but with no cardiovascular disease at enrollment. And they were assigned to one of three diets: a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, a Mediterranean diet supplemented with mixed nuts, or a control diet, advice to reduce dietary fat. So they received quarterly educational sessions, and depending on the group assignment, free provision of extra virgin olive oil, mixed nuts, or small non food gifts. Um, so after a follow up of 4.8 years, the trial was stopped on the basis of pre specified interim analysis, which I looked up, and basically it was stopped early. It could have been for a number of reasons, including the safety of the patients, like he insinuated, but also it could have just been because of, oh, I can't, where is it? It was a few other things that could have stopped it. And basically they stopped the trial early, and they gathered results from it, and they had to go back and kind of edit it once they did get their results, and over 1,000 of them ended up not being eligible into the study, all of that stuff. But so knowing that they were in Spain, one, knowing their age and all of that factors, and do you think that, and based on the steps he also said that age and all of that stuff makes a difference in what you are able to do, like, or do you think everybody should be able to follow the steps he said? Sorry, that was kind of long.
I mean, I think that just kind of goes back into that intrinsic motivation point because I mean, you either have to have that will and that accountability, or either you have to have your back against the wall and not have a choice, I think. And I'm guessing, and like I said, I didn't look up the study like you did, but there was probably some kind of monetary motivation for the participants. Um, but I mean, they were giving them free food, so they may not have been getting a check, but basically they had something to gain from it as well. But I mean, I think that it's doable in the right circumstances. Because, like I said, I mean, we're doing it. Like I said, we meal prep every week, and it sucks some days. And there are days I'm just like, oh, I really don't feel like cooking today, or oh, I don't feel like going to the store today. But it's just kind of like having that accountability partner there, having someone to do it with you makes a world of difference.
But do we all have access? Is it still kind of equal? If, because I'm thinking, okay, in Spain you have access to fresher ingredients than you would in the US, more non-genetically modified. I don't know if that's true or not, but I would assume it is, because I don't know if anybody's as bad as the US when it comes to genetically modifying your food or the things that are in it, or even if you can afford it at that point. So
Well, yeah, food deserts are definitely a big hindrance. Food deserts and economic possibilities, and yes, food there is fresher. More people garden there, and their lifestyles are more conducive. Like whenever I was in Germany, I ate like crazy. I'm talking about we had tea and cakes every afternoon, and my host mom found out what kind of little cake I liked, and she made it for me on a daily. But we walked so much that I didn't gain weight while I was there.
Yeah. And I thought it was weird that they did it only on older people versus why didn't you include a young study or a young mix in the population? Is because the young people are more active and don't have those kind of problems, or I don't know. It was just kind of odd to me. I thought it would make a difference.
I look at it kind of like step by step too. Like you were saying, do we think everyone could do that diet? I think everyone could do a version of that. You know, I think if you have foods in your diet that you know are foods that would like could lead to inflammation if you drink a lot of, you know, it's kind of like everybody has their weakness or so to say, like the things they crave. For me, it's like letting go of Coca-Cola. That's just my thing. I like, so then I cut down to the mini Cokes, and then I only let myself have two little minis a week. And then I, you know, so it's all on a journey to let it go completely. But I feel like you're getting on the right track if you're just slowly, you know, taking steps to get more and more healthy things into your diet and less of the other. You know, if you're not going to just like, well, like Jasmine was saying, I think if you get a health scare, like, hey, your heart's about to give out if you keep eating all this pork and fried food and all this fast food every day, then you're going to be more motivated because you're like, whoa, wow, you know. But if it's just like your own appearance and like he was talking about your attitude, I think it can get that can fluctuate, right? Based on like if you're having an up month and you feel all motivated, I'm about to do this, and you're doing your positive affirmations, and then something might happen in your life and kind of suck away your motivation for a minute. So you might not work out that week, or you might fall off and go get something you know you shouldn't eat. But then I think it's just like trying to get back on track, you know, trying to get as good as you can, because especially if you're just doing it solo, you know, you don't like have an accountability partner, you don't have a partner that's cooking with you, or you know, kind of helping with that load of managing that your diet and how you eat and all that.
Yeah. Shonda, you okay? You got anything to add, or you just chilling?
Um, I'm just chilling.
You
I've had a pretty eventful weekend. I
you
got
good?
I got the vaccine the other day, and I had some effects from it. One of being, which was fatigue and body aches, and I'm still, yeah, I'm kind of blah.
All right. Well, you just jump in when you want to. Other than that, if you want to take a nap, you good.
That's why I've been a little quiet. Sorry, my
You
mind is
good.
just a complete fog right now. I'm not gonna lie.
You good. I just want you to be good health wise. So just rest.
I'm just listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, you just do that. Jump in when you got the strength to do it. No problem. Yeah, but I felt like that study would have been more effective had it been done in the US and done across varying age groups and economic conditions, and kind of, seeing what they could substitute for it. But that was just me. Um, he just threw it in there and I was just like, yeah. But so let's see. On page 57, he said, when I work with ADHD, ADD, autistic, bipolar, and schizophrenic patients, inflammation also comes directly into play. Um, and I know he mentioned later, I think a mom who had an autistic daughter, and she was like, "What do I need to do?" Or was that earlier in another chapter? She was like, "What do I need to do before we see you?" Since we couldn't get that. Yeah, it was at the end of chapter 5. No, I lied. I think that must have been at the end of chapter 3. Yeah, where she was like, "Is there anything I can do to prepare for the visit?" And he was like, he introduced her, like, had her just cut out like wheat and dairy, and he was like, my daughter's already at least 50% better. So do you actually, I want to ask y'all, do y'all actually believe that those types of diseases that he was naming, the autism, the ADD, and all that stuff, and the schizophrenia, do you think is more genetic and that diet can kind of help manage it, or it has no really no effect on it at all and they need like chemical drugs to help manage it?
I think that they are genetic, but I do think that diet can either help or exacerbate the issues. Um, like I said, I run a therapeutic day school, and all of my students have severe mental issues. A lot of them are, well, actually, all of them are dual diagnosed. So, like, I do have students who are autistic. And I think if it was strictly diet, I wouldn't have them because all of my autistic kids have siblings. In fact, one of them is a triplet, and neither of his brothers have anything, and they were raised eating the same stuff. Now, what I have also noticed is that certain things do make them act differently. So, like if they have a lot of red dye in their diets, I can tell a difference in their behavior. I can tell a difference in their hyperactivity. So I do think that certain things exacerbate the symptoms, but I don't think necessarily that there is a cure per se.
I agree. I was thinking that when we talked about this, we touched on it a little bit last week, that I don't think he meant it that it was a cure for these, and that it's a piece, as a puzzle piece, that maybe looking at their nutrition, maybe will help to decrease inflammation and improve their behaviors in some way. But I don't think that he's meaning it to be a cure, but that maybe we need to look more closely between the link between diet, and mental health as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
And to be honest, I didn't even think about it. And last night I was talking to my friend and I completely forgot he was epileptic. And I remember when I first found out, I started looking up stuff and they were talking about how, and the same with MS, with another friend I had who had that, looked up stuff about that. And they did mention diet as well, um, to help with the symptoms or the things that come along with those diseases, and how what you eat can kind of, and like, yeah, try to stick to more of these foods and not this one. And I didn't even realize it then, but yeah, diet does. I think he was on to something when he said that, like the inflammation part. And so yeah, but I never thought about it like that, especially because you don't think about what really causes it, and you're used to just going to a doctor for medicine and being like, I need you to fix this, or I need you to help control this and stuff like that. And you don't even think about the simplest thing you do, which is what you eat. He did list some cravings on 59 and 16. I was just wondering, did y'all, yeah, you don't have to share any personal information or anything, but like, did any of these resonate with you or seem true? Or did some of these kind of surprise you or make you start thinking about things?
I never realized the juice was so dangerous. I guess I just didn't really pay attention to it because um I don't know, I like juice. And so when I started reading and seeing about how much, like, apple juice or cran apple juice, how a lot of it has so much sugar in it, you know.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think for me, it's not so much like I'm trying to, like, a Mediterranean diet probably would be closest to what I would want because I mean, I get the argument. I understand the vegetarian thing and not putting something dead in your body. Like, I love the whole, like, I can see in the last year or two, I've really cut down on even the meat that I eat. And I never did eat like a whole ton of meat. I'm not someone who's in Saudi, like, oh my God, I can't have bacon. Like, it's hurting me. You know what I mean? It's just like, whatever.
Mhm.
But I think I try to be kind with myself and just like sometimes you just want a little something. And I think having balance in your diet is what I try to go for. And then I think it becomes more and more of a habit or a choice so that you're drinking more water instead of choosing juice or soda all the time. Or um, even like I do smoothies every day and I switched. I used to put like juice in my smoothies just because I thought I wanted it. And then I just started using coconut milk or almond milk, and then I like it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because a lot of it, I think, is like how you've been socialized to view food, and then also like what your experience has been in your own family, what you were raised eating, and then even I think you start developing memories and positive emotions associated with certain foods or certain memories of eating that food for Thanksgiving or for Christmas on your birthday or your, you know what I mean, things like that. And so I think it's important to around all that too in terms of changing your diet.
Mm, I know. I know I crave sugar, and I started looking at what he was saying that's usually, associated with people who have stuff, and I looked at other stuff, and I'm like, huh, like milkshakes. I love ice cream, like milkshakes. It's ridiculous. So I'm just like, yeah, I can see some of this being true. The good thing is I don't really crave fried foods. Um, I actually have started having an aversion to them. A year or two ago. Like I still eat them, but I never prefer them, especially when it comes to my fish or chicken. I'm like, no, I'm tired of eating that fried. Mm, that is crazy. And I was like, some of this stuff fits me. So what's the other one? Mm, Jasmine, that's her name. So do you have anything you want to add about that?
Oh no, I mean, I'm just kind of in that same boat. Like, I mean, clearly I'm making changes because of weight and because of family health issues. And I have all the cravings that it said that you have when you're obese. I was like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
After a long day, I want a Coke or cookies, like chocolate in particular. And so it's just been conditioning myself to know that I want it. And kind of like Nandi said, every now and then I do indulge and get it, but just trying to keep myself from doing it every single time I want it.
Not even. You mentioned chocolate, and immediately I went to a Mr. Goodbar in my mind, and now I really want
That's my favorite too. Go
one.
figure.
Yeah, I was mad when the dollar store ran out because I was like, who been buying the Mr. Good bars besides me? So next time I saw them, I got the stack of them. That was bad to do. But at least it took me a while to eat them because I ended up forgetting I had them. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
sometimes eating is so emotional based because I still want to analyze myself and figure out why, like, over our Christmas holiday, I went on this donut kick. And there's this place called House of Donuts that's like they have everybody here likes like the Krispy Kreme donuts, but I don't really like them because I feel like they're too sweet. I feel like, oh my God, I can't. But
okay.
I like the cake donuts with like the chocolate frosting. And so I mosey on over there on my errands, and I went in the first time and they were having a special. You know, you buy three, you get three free. So I was like, okay, I'll have these for a few days. And then I noticed like I would just throughout the day, I pick off another little piece. And then an hour later, I'd be like, oh, I'll just finish off that other little piece. And then, before I knew it, I had just blown through the little half dozen. Like, and then I was the next day, it'd be like, I kind of want a donut. And I had to like literally just be like, okay, Nanda, you need to chill. After I did a couple weeks of joy with my donuts, I was like, all right, sweetie, like, this can't be good.
Right. No, and I understand because I ain't y'all don't judge me, but I've noticed, especially over the past year, and I was talking to my friends about it a few months ago. I was like, honestly, I talk about it quite often because I'm like, y'all got a problem. So when I'm hungry, or even or when I'm hungry, I will want many different things. So I will literally do a food stop shop. So like I'll go out, maybe stop at this fast food place, get something to eat. Stop at this fast food place, get something to eat. Stop at this one, order something to eat. Bring it all back home and barely eat half of it, and then leave it in the fridge and try to eat on it for like a few days. But I'll still be ordering food like every single day from another restaurant. And I'm like, I told my friend, I really have a food addiction. Even if I don't eat it, I just need to get it. Even when I'm sitting here bored, I just need to get it. I don't understand that. And I don't know how to stop it. And he was like, yeah, you just impulse control problems. And I was like, nah, that's not it. I was like the word addiction. Because I have a food addiction. I'm like, yeah, I really gotta see what that is because I'm trying to lose weight, but I can't do that if I keep doing this. And I want to stop it, but I can't stop for some reason. So it's just like I gotta find a way to stop. So
Well, that's
yeah,
probably what you said, right? Is that you change your wording. You say, I can stop. I just haven't stopped yet, because like we program our minds to think a certain way. And I think our subconscious takes over and acts out what we're saying we can't do, or we really don't believe we can do. So that's why I look at it like a journey. Like you can't be too hard on yourself because you're most of us probably didn't have parents who had like the perfect healthy diet that they were feeding us, you know? So you're kind of like unlearning habits or unlearning behaviors and making different choices along the way. Because I found it really interesting what he was saying about the hormones and the ones that say you're full and the ones that say you're hungry, and how like the worse you eat, the more fast food, the more all of that, then your body, then it's like you still feel hungry, which is weird to me. That the lower the quality of food you eat, it'll mess up that hormone, and then you'll always feel hungry. And even like I've read stuff about like your biodome in your stomach and how when you eat and you feed it with all the negative stuff, it just like that's what your brain starts triggering, which is like why I think for that month or however long I was on my donut kick, my brain was just going, yeah, get another donut.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Hello?
Yeah, we're all still here.
Oh,
Can hear you.
sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Last thing I heard was you saying, yeah, because we program ourselves. Like, what happened? I'm so
Well, the rest
sorry.
of you got it. You can be filled in.
Yeah, I think we were just saying like there is no judgment because I think in this society that we live in, we're so programmed and there's so much around eating fast food, so many TV shows addicted at eat. I mean, that are, targeted towards eating, so many ads that are targeted at eating that I think in our culture is almost hard not to be in some ways, like you said, have some type of food addiction or we give rewards. We give our favorite foods we associate with different rewards. It's just hard almost in this culture not to have some type of eating issue, I think. But I think it's like what Nandi was saying, it's almost when he was talking about just replacing more of those things that don't bring any nutritional value to our diets with kind of increasing the things that do, then hopefully you're reducing your cravings, and those are things that are going to make us healthier and, make us, go towards positive health and health goals besides just, always seeking those negative things out.
Yeah, I agree. Hi,
Hey,
Sandra.
Sandra.
Yeah, Yashana had confused you with Nandi earlier, but girl, I had to set her straight.
You
But yeah,
did?
I did. It's all right though.
All right.
Guys, don't even try it.
I know. I look, you should already know.
Don't even try it.
Can't let me have one. Hey, DeAndre. Hey, Monique.
What's going on?
Hey everybody.
Hi.
DeAndre, I've been talking trash about you.
Well, you can say it to my face now.
I know. Look, you see, I'm owning it. Saying we are reading this book and he ain't been here. What's been going on?
I've been better than amazing still. I'm actually in the process of building up a speaking career, so that's why I'm not going to be here as much. But I did come to tell you all that I am going to facilitate chapter 10, Beat Dementia and Alzheimer's. And of course, it'll be like the last two facilitations I've done. And I also have a documentary that I recommend we all see if you have not saw it already. Maybe you all have heard of it, maybe you haven't. It's called, and it's on Netflix. It's called What the Health. Has anyone seen that before?
I have.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
I have
I've heard
not.
of- Yeah.
All right. Well, I can guarantee you this: one, at least almost every person except for Jasmine has gone that told me that they watched it has gone vegan. So I'm saying one of you may go vegan, some of you may not. But I think it's worth watching. I saw it too. Actually, it's very eye opening.
It didn't push me to vegan, but I can't drink a cup of milk anymore.
It's a lot of stuff I'm not doing no more.
Yeah, when you see it, it gets more real.
So, DeAndre, what kind of speaking stuff you doing? I'm sorry to interrupt, Jessica. Now I'm nosy
It's
though.
all good. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make this quick so she can get back to her facilitation.
You good. Y'all, go ahead. Do you?
Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting out some material now, and I'm joining various groups because I'm looking to start definitely getting on stage and get paid for speaking. But I'm in the development process in terms of identifying who I want to speak to, what I want to speak about, and just carving out the lane that I'm supposed to, well, the lane that I see myself being in.
What are your areas of expertise?
That's a great question. My areas of expertise are goal setting, achievement, and the ability to be able to focus on something and to be able to focus long enough to where I can create something. You know how a lot of times people have this divided focus and they can't never stick to one thing until they can actually fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your question or am I answering your question?
Yeah, you are.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds interesting. I'll definitely look forward to hearing more about that when you establish yourself. So cool. I really don't remember what the last thing was that I asked you. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, and I do see that when he did say that in the book, because I know you said something about got to remove the word "can" from our vocabulary, and you're right. It made me think of Love and Basketball when he says, "What did I tell you about that?" Where he's like, something like, "Don't say can't. Why you can't say can't? Because when you say can't, you ain't a man." And I was like, maybe we should drop that word from our vocabulary, but it's just so I'm so used to it. But so going forward though, and that does tie into what he was saying later about the affirmations. But did any of the little sticky notes, I call them sticky notes, the little boxes, stand out to y'all, or surprise y'all, or was it any new information you didn't know before in chapter 4 or 5? Like when he says the little facts or trending and stuff like that.
I put down on page 51, the one where it says eating quickly means your brain registers full, but after you have already eaten too much. Like that's something that I think that we've all heard over and over again. And that's definitely something that I know I do. I eat fast.
Mhm.
And so I've been trying to make a conscious effort to slow down, because basically you have to give your body time to realize, you have to give your body time to produce those hormones that translate you done. But by the time you finish the whole plate, if you gobbled it down, you've been done halfway through, but your body didn't know it yet.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. And I was just like, that's
So
stuff I
I
really
have a, oh, my bad. So I
no,
have a,
you good.
so I've been listening to it in audio. So I'm not really familiar with the boxes.
Uh,
So yeah. So what were the boxes about again?
so it's different little things like what she was talking about was labeled a revelation. There's one that I've heard, of course, from Stevia, but I didn't trust their company, because any company don't say anything. But he did like a factoid that said stevia is a natural substitute for sugar and it has no harmful side effects. Um, they're just little notes like that, and see here. And sometimes it just reiterates what he's talking about in the paragraphs. So,
Another one that stood out for me is the last one on page 64 in that chapter. It says the average American gets 6.9 hours of sleep a night. Too little sleep increases the risk for heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, dementia, accelerated aging, fatigue, depression, and a compromised immune system. We need 7 to 8 hours a night consistently. And I think that as Americans, we glorify working so hard that we don't have time to sit down and sleep and eat. And he's kind of tying it all together to show us the importance of basically being well rounded. Like just putting the right things in your body is not enough. You got to sleep too to allow your body to recover because our body heals at night while we're sleeping. And so if you're not sleeping enough, then your body's not doing what it's supposed to do.
So basically what we were talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
again, I'm sorry, I missed last week, but yeah, I knew I knew we should try to get at least 8 hours of sleep, but I thought, maybe 5 or 6 would still be straight. When I read that last night, I was like, let me try to go to sleep a little bit earlier. And I did, but my body just got up earlier. And I was like, oh, you just defeated the purpose. So yeah, it took a minute for me to have to get back into a sleep pattern like that to make it sleep when it's supposed to, for as long as it's supposed to. My body. But yeah, and another one, because he was talking about the MSG and the GMO and stuff of that nature, and another little box said the health risk posed by genetic engineering, and he listed toxicity, allergic reactions, antibiotic resistance, immunosuppression, cancer, loss of nutrition. And of course, we knew about that stuff once the GMO movement came out. But it's just kind of crazy to me reading all that. Like, y'all know what it can do and what it can cause, but you still approve it to be put in our bodies and in our systems in our supermarket. And I understand you're trying to, like I think he mentioned at some point, preserve, make things last longer, and also to make things more available, more in abundance at a quicker level because you have a growing population. But we really got to be careful about how we try to do that. And I think in our society, in our culture, is I don't know. I think we want stuff just to have it, and we're really wasteful. So that in turn does we do have to produce more food. One, because of the population, and two, because we're more wasteful. But um, yeah, I just thought that was kind of crazy that the government and the FDA still approves things, even though it could be harmful to us.
Well, not to give any spoiler alerts from the documentary, but the reason that's the case is because look at the company that sponsors the FDA and look at the companies that contribute millions and billions of dollars to our government for that.
I didn't know FDA was. I thought it was a government thing.
Yeah, but they still get sponsors and funding from certain companies.
Huh.
Yeah, the government is, if there's another documentary completely unrelated to health, but it was eye-opening. It's on HBO. Um, and I want to say it's called Draining the Swamp because I think I watched it just out of curiosity because I thought it was going to be about Trump. But it was more about basically how the government functions and how it's all about who can raise the most money, and that's what passes. That's who gets elected. Like whenever you have these people chairing different committees, it's not because they're most qualified. It's not because they're more knowledgeable. It's because they were able to raise more money. And basically, whoever gave them that money, that's who they're working on behalf of. So if I want to chair the economic commission and this really large corporation gives me a $5 million donation, that puts me above all of the other people who would want to chair this committee. So now whenever I get elected, now I've got this company in my ear basically telling me what kind of policies I need to put in place. And that works across the board for every single committee in the government.
Okay, so that makes sense what he was talking about too earlier about the doctors really getting their information from pharmaceutical reps instead of actually from medical training, because they're going to look out for their best interests and they kind of support, you know, businesses that the companies need it to make the drugs and all of that stuff. So huh, it's a money driven world.
Right. And they also, different, you know, interests when they fund different studies. So if I'm, you know, with the pork industry, then of course my study is going to find that pork is not bad for your health, that, that it's good, in moderation, and that everyone should be eating pork. So it just, depends on who's funding these studies. And I think that's why there's so much confusion in our society about what to eat and what not to eat, because depending on who's behind it, you get so many mixed messages.
Mm.
Most definitely, because if you're doing research and you have a target to find a certain message, you can find it and you can manipulate the data to set it up. Like if I want pork to appear healthy, I might run a study that compares it with people who are malnourished and see
Exactly.
who's healthier. And yeah, it's going to be healthier to eat pork than to starve yourself to death. So of course my data and my numbers are going to prove that.
Exactly.
That's like when they used to have those ads on TV where they called it the other white meat. Like it's almost like pork had taken a little backlash and then they started selling it as the other white meat.
I didn't know about that, but I believe it. All right. Well, that was mostly chapter 4. And if y'all had anything else for chapter 4, you can go to chapter 5. Cool. So, chapter 5 was, talking about how to lose weight for good. Basically, he really, really hit on this diet like so much. And I can understand, he's trying to see how we can implement it, walk through it. And I was gonna ask my first question, but we kind of already discussed it. Um, where and he kind of said it too, because I think he said, yeah, because on page 72 he was talking about the three main behaviors, sorry, that can prevent obesity, um, which would be good food choices, good beverage choices, physical activity. And I was thinking, yeah, I was gonna ask y'all, did it really seem that simple? But as we talked on earlier, there's a host of other things that go into it, because not only emotional eating, and like you mentioned before, it's stress as well. Like, and we stress a lot. So I don't even know if I don't know, because a lot of people stress about losing weight as well. So you kind of hinder yourself doing that at the same time. I feel, if stress is a factor, because you're gonna you feel like you have to do this for this reason. And I mean, you do start to feel better, I guess, if you stick to it, and that kind of goes away. But yeah, we're very stressful, and we're very, we have a lot of emotional eating, a lot of other things too as well, that kind of play that factor into those steps he's talking about. But like I said, we can all do it. It's just to varying degrees.
Well, he
Um,
also talks about the cortisol, and Monique may be more qualified to speak on the ins and outs of it than I am, but I've done a little bit of research on it. And basically, whenever you are stressed, your body mass produces cortisol, which affects how your body actually processes the food that it takes in, and it stores it more as fat, almost like an emergency reserve, because whenever your body is stressed, your body doesn't know why you're stressed. And so its innate response is to preserve fat with almost the idea that you won't get a next meal. And so as your body does that, it naturally makes you bigger and it holds it around your stomach area, which is one of the primary causes of like diabetes and other stuff like that.
Which would explain why one's rampant in the Black community because that's stress. Like we're stressed all the time. I didn't even know that.
Right. And I think that was, I was going back to a training that I attended earlier. I think it's the end of February when we did a Black History Month training for clinicians. And one of the presenters was just talking about how we're African Americans are often born with just higher levels of cortisol just from the beginning. So we're already in that fight or flight type response just from birth. And so when you think about it, then when we're always saying that we are at risk for higher for certain diseases, then it makes sense because we're already born a lot of times with that higher level of cortisol in us.
Which now makes more sense because I knew that there were other things that might qualify for what Monique said the other week, but also that does too, where she said that, sometimes like this might not be for Black people. Like it's not, I think you said something like this, Monique. Sorry, quote me, tell me if I'm wrong, but you said, like basically this isn't for everybody. And, especially for Black people, it's not geared towards Black people and what their specific needs are. When it comes to food and what we need. And it makes sense because, if we already have certain things working against us, we would need a diet catered especially to us. But
Yeah, that is what I said. A lot of times
oh,
these books are written by um Caucasian specialists or doctors, nutritionists, things of that nature. And most of the studies and research that is done when it comes to, our physical body, our health, our nutrition is based mostly on the Caucasian population, and usually the most healthiest. And when they look for abnormalities, usually something really simple, like they say, to just switch out of food because they have access to things that a lot of our people don't have access to. So it's not to say that you can't implement this stuff. However, you have to look at things differently. Like Jasmine was saying, your body naturally produces cortisol when you're stressed. That is a steroid. So you know how it is when you go to the doctor and you're sick and they give you a steroid, what happens? You gain weight in different parts of your body because your body is reacting to the inflammation. And so it will store stuff, like you were saying, fight or flight, kind of like when you were talking about the sugar. Sugar is addictive. Sugar mimics the feel good hormone, right? Your serotonin. So if you're eating emotionally, you're getting a natural high, but it's not, I don't want to say natural. You're getting a high because it's mimicking the serotonin, but it's a unnatural high and it's a quick high. They call it a crash or sugar crash. But that's why a lot of times we eat too. If you're stressed and you just want to feel good, you want a euphoric feeling, that's why a lot of times you resort to eating like sweets. And they can even be from cookies to actual fruit. Because what your body will do, it will tell you what it needs to feel better. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pick what would be healthy, but your body will send you a signal to reach out for something or eat something that it thinks it needs to heal itself. So yeah, I did say that.
And the psychology part of what you just said too is whenever your body is in crisis mode, it will put out those craving, whether it's sweet or whether it is salty, but it will also make you crave a feeling that you've previously had. So if you're somebody who associates, cakes and cookies with family time, which makes you happy, which also increases those endorphins, your body doesn't put two and two together, that all those people around you is also what's making you extra happy at that moment. It will just make you crave those foods and the smells of those foods. And it will take you back to that place, which generates that serotonin and that dopamine and that epinephrine and all those other happy things.
You know, that what comes with being conscious. Your body really doesn't care what you do. All it knows is it wants to be healthy. So it's up to us to consciously choose what it is. So our body really doesn't care if it's the people. It's not thinking about that at all. Say for instance, if I go to the doctor and they run lab tests on me, my lab tests are going to say normal, but they know they have to figure out what's going on with my body based on cravings. So say for instance, I have PCOS and I have a vitamin D deficiency. When they're normal, my skin is fine. I'm a little on the slimmer side. I don't have any aches. Totally fine. If they're off, even though the labs don't show that they're off, I'll crave things that I don't like. I don't really like bread. But all of a sudden, I just want bread and carbs. And then I can see that my skin is getting darker around my neck, around my face. I'm gaining weight when I'm not really eating that much, and it hasn't changed, but I'll crave certain things at certain times of the night. Or like I don't really like dairy. But if my vitamin D is low, my body's like, you need to put calcium in. So whether I choose to drink milk, eat cheese, take my calcium supplement, whatever it is, my body's like, you need to get it, you need to get it, because we know something's wrong. And we need it. That's why sometimes you see pregnant women, people would joke about pregnant women who eat like white dirt. Women still do that, white dirt. They'll eat like flour. And people are like, oh, that's disgusting, why they're eating flour. And sometimes they don't even know why they're eating the flour. They just know that they want it. And it's because their body's like, you better give me what I need, because I need to be healthy. You know, it's up to you to pick which one it is. But I just know this is what I need to be healthy. Kind of like what animals do in nature. We're just mammals. We're just more smart mammals. But literally God designed our body to do that. That's why after birth, you'll see animals eat their placenta. Man would tell you they'll eat their placenta because they don't want other animals to come and kill their babies. Now, that could be true, but the placenta has stem cells in it and it heals the body. We're actually supposed to do that, but to humans, it's disgusting. But there's a body way of saying, you know what, you just gave birth and you need to heal. Everything you need is in this placenta. So we have to be careful with when your body gives you a signal, you have to then take over your conscious, because subconsciously your body knows what to do. But when you're in your conscious, that's when you have to take self-control and accountability and go, okay, it's asking for that. But which one do I need to choose that would be best for my body to function appropriately?
All of that honestly makes a lot of sense, and it's good advice. A lot of advice that we wouldn't even think of or think we would need until we get into a book like this, or until we get into trying to get healthy. And yeah, I yeah, it's a lot to actually think about and take in. So yeah, and it will make sense, especially on a chemical level, why we reach for things that make us happy when we're stressed. I do that constantly at work. I work 40 hours a week, and that job, well, I don't even know if it's a job. I think my manager stresses me out. And so I always want something sweet while I'm working. And if I don't have access to it, I'm usually just freaking out, but internally. and and then when lunchtime comes, I'm like eating like more because I'm just like, it's the only little break I get away from them, and da, 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 da. So yeah, actually looking at what it needs and how to do that, that makes sense.
And like Jasmine said, you just have to be mindful. Like if you know you're asking for sweets, you control your mind. So like we were saying with affirmations, if you know you're stressed, then find something else like a stress ball. You can go meditate, go take a deep breath. You know, I don't know how your environment is at your job. Some people you can get away, listen to some music, or like when I used to work at the hospital, I would just go in the break room and listen to music for maybe like 1 minute and then leave back out, whatever you need to do to adjust your body for that stress that you're responding to in
See,
your environment.
yeah, I try. I work from home, I work for a car note company, so we call people collecting car notes when they're past due. And if you're, when I would try to take little breaks, like I'll just go like into a restroom break or something. Then I'll be like, oh, okay, why are you taking this many breaks? Why are you not ready status so much? You need to be, it's always something. And that's why I think I get stressed because with this manager, I've been on and off her team, but it's always something. And like you're supposed to constantly be on the phones. You can't really listen to music because if you get a call in and they hear your background, you're like, but yeah, I'll definitely, try to find something else because
I get it. I work for a major corporation for insurance at home, so I get it. I had
yeah.
a micromanage. I had a micromanage manager. I actually had an anxiety breakdown because of that. That's just true transparency. In those situations, you do want to be physically healthy. You do take your breaks. Your physical comes first. But in your situation, it transfers from nutrition to your mental health. And then you have to make other decisions like, do you just need to go find another job?
Right. And this job is the
Yeah.
only job that's ever paid me as much as it has. And I'm like, well, I can find another job that pays me this much.
Yeah. If you can make it now, you can always get it. But those are things you have to consider. Again, you see how when it ties in, if we're talking about our people, we're talking about food and our body is reacting, we're eating with food. But a lot of us, it roots in mental health. And that's why we do the results of food. That's why I'm not really big about pushing the vegan agenda that everybody has. A lot of people who are vegan eat processed vegan food. Like for instance, me, you would never see me on a vegan diet. I just said I had PCOS. A lot of the foundations of vegan food is soy, wheat, seitan, all those things. I would have major inflammation in my body because they affect your hormones. And so I wouldn't be surprised that 5, 10 years from now, these people who are like, oh, I'm so healthy, I was vegan, they're going to end up having health issues because it takes about a decade before they realize the changes that those diets have. That's why I don't push diets. So listen to your body, but everything is in moderation. If we knew what a serving was, that alone would probably make you healthy.
Yeah, think about the first time you go to a fancy restaurant and you leave hungry, talking about to go to McDonald's right quick. That's because they gave you a true serving.
Yeah, they gave you a true serving. Because when
Yeah.
you tell people how big their meat's supposed to be, pork is not unhealthy. Beef is not unhealthy. It's that we eat about 6 servings in one setting of just the meat. And then telling people that fruits can be unhealthy, they look at you crazy. Like fruits can't be unhealthy. They're fruits. They're natural sugars. I prefer natural sugars over processed sugars. However, you can eat too much fruit. You can eat too many vegetables sometimes because they're different carbs, complex carbs. So you have to do everything in moderation.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say something and I completely forgot what it was. But so yeah, we can oh, I was gonna say sometimes. Okay, so well, let me ask this before I say this. What is the essential? Okay, so what do you think he was trying to accomplish with this book? What was his goal?
I think he really wanted to teach people about health. I don't think nothing's wrong with the book. The stuff that's in the book is solid information. It's just rooted in saying that everybody is the same. This is where it throws off with me. Like we were talking about studies and what it's based on. It's solid information and it's somewhere for people to start that don't know where to start. I just don't want people from different populations, if you read this, because most of us on here are Black, you read it and you do it all and then you said it didn't work. It might not necessarily be that you have to do more than just nutrition. So I think his goal was to tell people how food affects you, how you need to eat more healthy, how you need to speak better to your body, how you need to have more confidence in the choices that you make when it comes to your nutrition. And those are solid and great foundations. It just doesn't give the perspective of, but what about Black people? what about Asian people? Because all of us have different things outside of what Caucasian people. It's even studies on this. So I just know it because you study. So they know that, but they just choose to give like a general knowledge. So it's great. I think he did what he was supposed to. You just have to think a little bit more when it comes to other groups of people.
Mm. Yeah, because
I agree. I think that he was just trying to show that, food should be a foundation for health and how it can be used to treat um, not just symptoms, but the root causes of what's going on with us. And so I think from that standpoint, right, he's trying to do a good thing. I agree that he doesn't necessarily look at specific populations, but I think the basic message is that we should use nutrition as a foundation of health, because a lot of times Western medicine is just treating symptoms and not really causes and getting to the root of the problem.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah. So, because I was just looking at some of this in here, but this whole chapter was about weight loss. So some of the stuff does make sense about what he was saying. I was just like, wait, is this what you were trying to say? So yeah, no, all of that does make sense. And because I started thinking, is this whole book just one big plug for the Mediterranean diet? Is Are you just trying to, But I mean, I definitely get, because at first, he was really just focusing on you figuring out what you need to figure out, how you need to figure out how your body reacts to things. So yeah, but I get from this point on, he's just trying to help in the way that he knows it helps for most people, which would be most Caucasians.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great guideline.
Yeah.
I always encourage people, if you really read, like if you read a book like this and you are like, it gets you to think. So for people who never really just thought about their health, they don't know where to start. It gets you to think about, okay, let me be self-accountable, self-aware. What am I doing that could harm me? So this is just like I call it a guide. And then you take that information and go forward. So,
Yeah.
for most people, I say do like a food diary, because now you're being conscious about actually listening to your body. You're being conscious of when you eat something. How do you feel? How do you react to it? A lot of us just eat because it's, second nature. You eat because you're hungry or something and you keep going. People don't really just sit and be like, I ate and, oh, after an hour that made me bloated, or my face was puffy, or I had some cramping. It'd be days later and you kind of brush it off. So I think it's a great guide. And then you just take what you will and go on your own journey.
Yeah.
I
And,
think.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Was you about to say
No,
something?
no, go ahead.
Uh, I was gonna say, in addition to what Monique was saying, I think that in terms of being mindful of what you take in, considering that the book gives you a guideline as to use food as the very medicine that can fuel your body rather than break you down. I think that we have to take into consideration that environment is stronger than willpower. What do I mean by that? Now we can take this, if for most people, if you're working in an environment where you see all these vending machines, you see the chips and the cheese and the crackers, and you see the Skittles and M&Ms, not being aware of that, and you're just consistently buying this stuff and you're eating, and with over time when this compounds and you know that it leads to all these health issues, I think when you read a book like this, because it's easy to say, well, I'm going to change my diet, or I'm going to, now that I've watched, or now that I've read this book, you still have to have that accountability, because the way our brain works, we really do not want to change. So we have to get in an environment where it's uncomfortable and it costs us something, so that we feel the consequences or feel being penalized for not keeping our word. Because just saying you're going to do something, is there's no guarantee you're going to do it, not if you like most people. Because I'm going to tell you something from my own experience. After going through this 6-month process with a personal trainer, and after just being in the gym and just seeing the same people come in, and no matter how hard they're working out, nothing is really changing. And the reason nothing is changing, I'm convinced, is because, well, they don't have any accountability, but more importantly, they're not really eating properly.
Mhm. I definitely agree. I didn't know you were doing. So, are you still doing the training with the trainer, or is it already ended?
Oh, it ended, but I have the meal plan, just the blueprint, and the actual system that he gave me. I still have that, so I'm actually gonna restart the entire phase, but we still talk and everything.
Okay.
Because the first 3 months was about me getting stripped, and the last 3 months was about me building muscle. And I'm still in the process of doing that.
Okay.
And we are definitely creatures of habits. And we also, how you said, something to gain. That's why, like people who do weight loss competitions, that's why those things work. Those endorphins that are released if you win 1 week, or even that motivation to push forward, to win, all of that stuff plays into effect mentally to motivate you to keep pushing forward.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, that now that you have a partner, it helps too. Yeah, I think it's still, even that competition is still kind of a form of accountability being held, and it kind of holds people feet to the fire a lot more than if they were doing it by themselves as well. Mm, mm, mm. Oh yeah. So you talk.
And you have to be mindful of that too, because that's called codependence. So that's not self accountability. If you only do it because you're in competition mode, that's ego driven. If no more competition, you'll go right back to what you were doing before. Um, I just want to throw that out there. So you always have to be self motivating, self accountable. Then you add a village that will support you and motivate you along the way. But if you're only getting results, if you're only getting results because you have to be in a competition setting, somebody else is your motivation. Kind of reminds me when people go in business, you ask them, what you going business for? This is women. They'll be like, for my kids. What? Your
Mm-mm.
kids gonna be grown one day and they're gonna leave, then what? Like it has to be rooted in you. If not, that's codependent. If that's not there to motivate you, that outside thing, you're looking outside again, you'll revert back. So, then that person will lose weight and then you'll see them a year from now, then they're back to what they were before. I just wanted to throw that out there to be mindful because that's another mental thing. And a lot of us are codependent. So when you are working on your physical, just make sure that you're not masking accountability partners or paying for accountability partners as a codependent relationship for you to do what you need to do for yourself. I don't know why I feel like I'm on Clubhouse. I want to say this is Monique and I'm done speaking.
No, but that makes a lot of sense too, because we don't even think about that. I mean, it's okay if you start off that way. Like, you used to, maybe you only started to lose weight because you joined the competition, but you should, like you said, realize for yourself at some point, well, I just want to keep doing this even afterward. Um, just so that it's for you and not for somebody else. Or you're not just losing weight to try to look good to somebody, because we know that ain't gonna last. Like,
Yeah, I was thinking when she was talking about that, like not doing it because it's competition, or being able to maintain if you do start out as competition. Because I've read those follow-up stories from like people that competed on The Biggest Loser, and they've gained all of the weight back and then some.
oh,
Um so yeah, I think that definitely says something about what Monique was saying.
Oh, it's very dangerous. It's like the sugar you eat. It's euphoria. You want a high. So you have to address your addiction. Some people are addicted to ego things, being a winner, having someone pushing me on, someone encouraging me, someone giving me compliments when they won't even do it for themselves. If you can't get you in a mind space to do it for yourself, you're waiting for someone else. When no one is there anymore, you revert back. And like Yashana said, sometimes even worse than before. I just felt like I had to throw that out there because I know a lot of people do that. And they'll say, oh, I have all these people that support me. And it's like, okay, but make sure that's not a codependent relationship. I don't know if y'all look at 600-Pound Life, but
Yeah.
they have a lot of codependencies on there. Even though they'll be feeding them healthy foods, again, it's not in the servings. I love you. I encourage people sometimes, if you are going to do that, choose people who don't know you and choose someone who doesn't always say yes to you or amen in you or you doing great all the time. They never give like a constructive critique, like, no, I don't think that's right. Because again, you'll get caught up in that codependent and it's not really a solid foundation for you to stay successful for yourself.
Right. I thought about my The Biggest Loser too when we were talking about that, because they do set up an environment where it's difficult for you to fail, because from what I've read, everything is centered around, you getting up, them feeding you the right foods, you working out all day long, pretty much like 6 hours a day, so everything is catered around weight loss. And so it's not the real world, because the average person, it may be hard for you to do an hour a day. We have to push ourselves to even get that in. So that's why a lot of times there is so much failure, and why it is just a television show, because it's not based in reality, and why they have such huge weight loss, has such huge weight loss on that show, because it's not real. But then, we're sitting at home looking at it thinking, hey, I can do that. And you can, but not in that short time frame and not in that same way that they have it set up on the show. So it's not realistic at all.
Yeah, and I
You
didn't think
think?
about that either. Well, so I guess my 600-Pound Life is more. That's a better show because in that sense, because they have to do it on their own. He just tells them to lose the weight. He doesn't do anything. It's hands off, really. He just like loses weight so you can get the surgery, even though that's kind of like a reward. Well, I mean, because they need it though. But
But I mean, you notice on his show, usually at the end, just about everybody has to go to therapist. So it goes back to when I was saying your physical health is important, but usually when it comes to us and caring for ourselves, our physical being usually ranks number one. And then usually number two and number three kind of go back and forth. And it's finances and your mental health. Because if you're not mentally capable of making sound choices, like, when DeAndre was talking about his career as a speaker, right? He's trying to give people clarity. Okay. If you don't have clarity around who you are and what you need and what will make you healthy, how can you make a sound choice of how to do that? Can you come up with a strategy to do it? And that's mental.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people fail because mentally, if you be like, what you need? Oh, I just need to lose weight. Why you need to lose weight? Because I need to lose weight. Well, why you need to lose weight? I want to go walking. That is a good goal. But for most people, they won't be like, oh, I want to lose weight because I know when I go to sleep, I stop breathing, or I'm tired of being short of breath. I know that I might die if I keep on, because that's too real. And it's going to push more accountability. Instead, they'll say things like, so I can start going on dates, so sex can be better. Those are great goals. However, I mean, you can really do those things whether you lose weight or not. It's usually mental. So, he lets them do it first. They come back, they give him excuses. He assesses more of their mental versus saying, okay, you need to lose weight. And when he sees that it's a blockage, he'll be like, I suggest you go to therapy. So that might be the realest part of the show that you'll see, is that he knows that if they don't get through that mental blockage, they will never be successful, because they will never put their health and what they need to intentionally and mindfully do first as a priority.
Right. And I think really they ought to start there first. I think the show, of course, has a formula to it. It's basically the same format every week. But if you look at it, a lot of them have a lot of trauma. There's a reason why you let yourself get so large that it puts your mortality at risk. So I think they should start there first, because they always end up there, but they have a lot of trauma, a lot of reasons why they are addicted to the food. Like you said, they're in codependent relationships. There's just this big cycle going on, and really addressing the mental is first. I think then to help you get to the physical part of it.
I can tell you why mental health should not be addressed first when it comes to your physical health and just changing your nutrition and diet. If you tell somebody they need help with mental, they get on the defense. Nothing's wrong with me, right? So when it comes to humans, you can never go to them with a mental issue first. They're gonna always be on the defense because a lot of times they either don't want people to know their business, they don't want to admit that they have something going on. We just naturally have to be strong. But if you tell them to go do something that they come to you with, like their physical health, without even asking them, if they start talking and you watch their moves and what they do and the things that they choose, it will tell you what's going on mentally. Then when you bring that up to them and they see the pattern, they're more open to saying, oh, well, maybe I do need to address that. But if we always went with you need to be mentally healthy first, nobody would never get anywhere. That's just kind of like what the world and our society has pushed people to be,
Right.
unfortunately.
I agree to a certain extent, but I do think it's very important, especially when you get to that point where it's an addiction and it's on my 600-pound life. There's obviously a lot of stuff, and that's why you don't come in with a negative that you're unhealthy. There's something wrong with you. There's just something to be addressed. So I'm saying it would probably benefit him to like bring in mental health professionals just to kind of help that process along and ease people into it. Because obviously, if you're not mentally ready to do it, you're just going to relapse back into that same cycle again. But it's not coming at you like something's wrong with you, but just that you could use this extra support, and then you go deeper and you dive deeper from there. That's why you need professionals, and it's a certain way to talk to people to bring them to that point.
Well, Sandra, you are also a rational thinker, like somebody who's in the mental health field. If people come to you with an existing physical problem, that's typically the one that they see as the forefront of their issues. And if you start putting more stuff on them, it's going to make them feel overwhelmed. And most people shut down when they're overwhelmed. Like statistically, most people, if they reach that threshold, they reach that point of, I don't know where to start, so I'm just not going to do anything. And so I think that what he does try to do is he tries to let them see it first, because and that's even exacerbated when it comes to the Black community. Like whenever I look at my clients, like it is, I mean, granted, we are seeing an uptick in Black clients now, but previously, like seeking therapy, dealing with your mental issues is something that people see as, oh, that will make me crazy, or I'm not stupid, or I don't need that, or I already know the answers, I just got to do it. And most people believe that mental health is not real health. And so I think
Especially when you're getting like a euphoria from different things. Think about, okay, not Oprah Winfrey, Whitney Houston, right? We love us for Whitney Houston. We knew that she was sick. The world knew she was on drugs. She didn't think she had a problem. She thought she was fine. You want to know what made her realize that she had an issue?
Mm-hmm.
When she saw herself after she did the Michael Jackson special. Michael Jackson special. And everybody like, oh, you're sick. It took her seeing that picture, because she said prior to her getting on stage, she thought she was fine and looking good. Even though everybody told her she had an issue. But she had an addiction. It was on drugs, but it fed her mental euphoria. So when you work with addicts, because pretty much that's what it is, even when you have an issue with the food, it's addicts. It's hard to start with mental first, because to them is nothing wrong. Like, Jasmine was saying, you better treat them with what they came with you with. And then you have to put them in a space to where they bring the facts and they experience it, they feel it, and then you can come open and be like, okay, you see how you did X, Y, and Z, and that didn't work. And then they're more open to be like, oh, yeah, I see it was me, versus you can just give them a magical pill and everything will go away. Unfortunately, that's how it is when you have to deal with people who have addictions, or they have something mentally going on that but they're just not going to be open to do it initially, unfortunately.
Yep, it's gonna turn to what that weight loss doctor know. He don't know nothing. He think I'm crazy. I ain't even going back to him no more.
And I can do this on my own, and will never show up again when I answer a call, because that's literally what humans do when you're trying to do that. So it's very, I don't want to say complex, but you have to be able to touch every aspect of a person's life to even get them to realize what's going on mentally.
Do you all think one of the reasons that is in fact the case is because of the environments? Because if you gain 600 pounds, I know that some things are hereditary, but some things aren't. And if you're in an environment that's not supportive of you, they're telling you gaining weight, they're telling you need to do this better, but they're not telling you the strategies as to what to apply and how to apply them.
It
Do you think
is like Sandra is completely right. Like mental health would be the ideal first approach. It's just the formula that he uses in letting them attempt and fail first is needed for them to see that it's needed to be first. Because you're going to need to address that mental health to address how you respond to your environmental factors.
But
Mm.
oftentimes they still don't, they still fail. Have you noticed, like if you watch this season, they're still caught in that cycle. And so even that, him approaching them first in that way still is not successful with them.
I,
Hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of times it goes back to how we were saying, nutrition wise, when you have sugar and your body just wants what it needs to be normal and healthy, right? Our body tells you that, and it's in the signal. But like I was saying, it's in our conscious control what we choose to soothe that signal. Unfortunately, people like that choose unhealthy things, and it damages and it destroys their body. But you telling them that doesn't matter, because in their mind, I want to be soothed. I want to be comfortable. I want to feel good. And just by chance, for me, it's food. So you're trying to tell me that I'm supposed to not be comfortable and happy when I know when I'm unhappy and I eat all of this food, it makes me feel good. Who are you to tell me not to have pleasure? Every single human in this world wants pleasure in this life. Everybody wants pleasure. And that doesn't look the same for everybody. Again, depending on your outlook, what you choose to give your body to give that pleasure. For instance, we're talking about food right now, but there's some people it's sex. For some people, it's relationships. You might know someone who they break up with somebody and 5 days later they're in a whole nother relationship and they just so in love. And then they break up and 3 months later they're in another relationship, like they cannot be by themselves. Because of them, a relationship soothes them. It gives them pleasure. With them not knowing that what they're seeking in relationships, that's actually what they should be giving to themselves. But because they can't process that and you're trying to tell them, slow down, take a break. They're like, no, my body, my mind, my heart says I need pleasure. And this is what's giving it to me. So this is what I'm gonna do. And until they realize how damaging it is, like we were saying with them, you have to let them know they failed until they get it for themselves. You're just gonna keep telling them, and then you're gonna become a nagger because they just need the euphoria.
Yeah, and and this I personally don't watch TV, and I don't think I've even heard of that show. I have heard of The Biggest Loser, but it is interesting what you all have said, because even after going through that process and going back to the same environment that gave birth to those very destructive eating habits and behaviors, does an environment can we not? I guess what I'm asking is what role does environment play in it, and how can that be changed once you've gone through the process?
So you mean like from when they were on Biggest Loser?
I mean, whether they was on Biggest Loser or whether the 600 pound life, once you've gone through the workout, the weight loss, and once you've gone through the mental aspect, once you've gone through that process, but you return back to the same environment, because even for myself, although I've changed radically what I've eaten and how I approach my day, I still am around certain family members. When we have get-togethers and gatherings, we have fried chicken, we have ribs, we have red velvet cake, and I know that I know I'm always tempted when I'm in that space, knowing the changes I've made, knowing how when I consistently ate like that, how it made me feel sluggish, lethargic, tired, and underachieving for the most yeah, for the most part. So how do you handle that, knowing that temptation is there after
Now
you
with
get
the,
through that process?
now with the Biggest Loser, I think the reason why a lot of those people fail on the show is due to finances. Biggest Loser, they have access to chefs, they have access to high quality food, they have access to trainers, and they don't have to pay for any of this stuff.
Mm,
And then you go home, if you're someone who's low income, you ain't got no chef cooking around the clock. You don't have a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or a Farmer. You don't have somebody waking you up and saying, you got to exercise right now for 2 hours. That's where the unrealistic part comes in. So I feel like that's why the people on The Biggest Loser end up gaining weight. They give you things that a lot of times people can't afford. When it comes to, like, for instance, your situation, you're just gonna be around people who ain't gonna eat like you. So even if you're not with your family, you might go to a restaurant. There are gonna be people who are choose certain things. So then you have to make a decision. Okay, I want to be with my family, and this is a time for us to be happy. Why do I feel like I'm missing out because they're eating this food and I'm not? Or what would be wrong with me eating in moderation and just not eating a big plate? Like, I'm not putting myself in a situation where I'm going back. Because I think a lot of times what I see people do is they'll go and they'll say, you don't have anything I can eat. And that's not always necessarily true. You can have a regular serving or you can get a little small plate and you can just eat. If your point is just connecting with your family, then do things to connect with them, have laughs, be fun, and then leave. You might not have to stay there 4 or 5 hours. Be like, I had my time and I left, or you can bring your food. But when it comes to that in your environment and you know you're in a space where you can buy your own food, you have access to the food, you just want to spend time with your family, that's when self accountability comes in. What can I do to give myself what I need, or what am I trying to get from the situation that makes me happy? And knowing that you're not deflecting, but now, because what we usually do is we'll make a conscious decision for our own health, and then subconsciously we'll start to judge everybody who doesn't.
mhm.
Because in a subconscious way, that makes us feel like, well, I'm on the right track and ain't nobody else doing it. Why they ain't eating good? You have to stop and take a minute and go, well, why am I criticizing them now? Or well, how's that? What's that got to do with me or them? I made the decision; they didn't. So why do I feel like now everybody need to change because I decided to do it for me? And then that's stuff that you have to journal on or work through and decide, okay, I made this decision for me. And everybody's not going to be on that same decision. And what do I need to do about that? That's what I would say.
And I think that definitely plays a factor into why I think 600 pound life has more successful stories. Now, mind you, some of them do go back and gain the weight, but like when they do the follow ups, you see more successful stories because one, they were at a dire point. Two, they had to find the motivation themselves to kind of get it done, even though cameras kind of are a motivating factor. But I don't know. Yeah, it is. But and they have to learn to actually do that stuff on their own. They're already in their own environment, kind of. They have to go to Texas, but when they go back home, they're still in their own environment. They still have to do their thing, they have to get themselves up every day, they have to do all of that. So yeah, I think that's why that's a bit more successful. Their environment does play a key role, and of course, like you said, just the reason why and making sure that you're doing it for you for the right reason and not judging somebody else for how they are. But, and I'm sorry, I didn't. I was basically done with chapter 5. It was just it was like one more question, but it was done. But yeah, he just talked about the hat thing, which is the hormones, the attitude, and the timing. And like we were just talking about, attitude played a big part in it. Hormones, obviously, like we said earlier, played a big part in timing. I I know that people say we should eat a big breakfast. I do like when he says eat breakfast like a king, eat lunch like a prince, and eat dinner like a pauper. Um, I know people say you should have a big breakfast and kind of go slower throughout the day. I'm I haven't really been a breakfast eater lately for the past couple of years now when I used to be. And I didn't even think about that. I forgot about that. But so yeah, I do think though that there were some good tips in chapter 5. And he did go ahead and do another breakdown of exactly what we should eat and what times and stuff like that. But overall I thought it was pretty decent, and I might try to implement some of this stuff into my routine and try to see if it does anything, and if it try to see how my body reacts to it basically, and see if there's a dip in energy or a change or anything of that nature, or in what I crave and things of that nature. Did anybody have any thoughts, last thoughts, or anything about the chapters or anything at all that we talked about?